From Limpopo with love. Then, with the 2020 schooling year having been temporarily halted due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many parents had to come up with ways of educating their children about the virus. The 3-Word Stories campaign aims to provide steps that can help parents navigate these uncertain times as seamless as possible without overwhelming the kids. To help us unpack how parents can juggle these multiple issues, we joined on Zoom by Nontokozo Madonsela, who is a mother of 2 and the Chief Marketing Officer at Momentum Metropolitan. Nontokozo, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure, Nontokozo. Take us through what the 3-Word Stories campaign is all about and how it's set to try and help them with being overwhelmed during this time.
Yeah, so basically our brand Metropolitan, the payoff line says together we can, and we found that in the time of COVID, it is when we need the power of the collective support the most. The insight we tapped into, when somebody asks you on the road, like, how are you? Or when you come in the office, like, good morning, how are you? We've all mastered the fake, I'm fine, thanks, it's okay.
Right.
So what we're saying is the time for that fake, I am fine, thanks, is gone. When somebody genuinely asks how you are, find a way, and 3 words is just fantastic to frame that, I'm going through a difficult time, or this morning was harder than yesterday morning. And we want people to know that the people around them are there to help them get through this together, and we don't have to get through it on our own. That's the essence of the power of the 3 stories. So we've partnered with experts, with advisors, with psychologists, with influencers, and even our own brokers as Metropolitan are available to support you through every step of your life and of your journey. And even when some of the things just need a conversation, that's a conversation we want you to learn to have.
You just spoken about the fake hello or fake how are you, or basically the fake chat. So having said that, Nontokozo, what's the most effective way of communicating to a child about the COVID-19 without actually instilling fear, but ensuring the message lands?
Yeah. So I'm on your page. I've got 2 kids, like you said. My youngest is 8, my eldest is 14. And I'm caught always as a mother between being realistic about what is going on and keeping my mindset of optimism and the spirit of optimism in the house. And the difference with optimism is that you don't deny what's going on, but you find a way to say we can get through it. And here's how we're going to get through it together. The kids, especially the kids nowadays, I was raised to ask very little questions, especially when grown-ups are around, say very little. I think our kids these days are raised to ask a lot. So I think the first step for parents is just answer the questions with honesty, engage in a conversation, find moments, whether it's around dinner time or bath time or bedtime, that you have these conversations and you answer with honesty. My boys, the biggest worry is, when are we going to see our friends? They want to be able to play or go for ice cream or go for a walk in the park. And what I'm trying to do as a parent is to find ways to keep them connected with their friends, but in a safe way. So we FaceTime friends a lot, or I allow them, to voice call with their friends a lot. But the first thing is have a conversation and answer with honesty. I think the other part is that we've got to block the WhatsApp groups, I don't know, between the class WhatsApp group, the street WhatsApp group, your friends from varsity WhatsApp groups, and the people you work with, there's always these horrific articles that are just landing in my inbox. So I think one of the things as a parent you need to do is to filter and block the noise. And to do that, I think just know the reliable sources of information. And the kids don't need to know the gruesome detail of how people are dying and how many are dying, etc. So let's find a way to block that noise. And I think the third thing is find fun activities to do at home. I mean, when we started lockdown, I said we should have a personal challenge. So my one son loves to paint. So we said, imagine how many canvases could you have painted in 30 days? My other son loves to write. So I was like, you know what, my darling, why don't you start writing? And maybe your challenge is you find some stories to write and look, let's see how many you've written in 30 days. And I'm trying out gardening. I've started a herb garden in my yard. And I also want to have herbs to use in the salads and to give to my friends. So find things to do in the house so that the kids at least are kept engaged.
You speak of finding certain sources of information, and that's quite a contentious issue to contend with, because there's plenty of information, some misinformation, some disinformation, some fake news. So how can parents help their kids with flooding of information that's coming in related to the virus? Because we all know that children can only process so much at a time.
Yeah. So my thing is, I just the emails from the school are the source number one, because that guides me to know what's going on with their schoolwork, when can they get back to class or not back to class, submissions that need to be done. So the school is, for me, the most reliable source of information. And then formal news outlets like yourselves, like your station, for example, and your platform is what I keep to. And then I limit the listening of news at home with the children. I find, my one son was like, there are too many horrible stories happening outside. How do I know that we'll be safe if we go, I don't know, shopping, buying milk or bread or whatever? So I try to block that out. But the school and the formal news outlets is what I take as religion in terms of news information.
And what are the 3 steps that you can share with parents who are feeling so overwhelmed right now?
So step 1, I think, talk to your network.
Okay.
There are many parents who are dealing with this. You are not on your own. I've met especially young mothers. I've spoken to young mothers who feel like they, when you tell your family you are struggling, it's like the biggest failure. It's not. Actually, you need to tell someone that you are struggling. And then I think the other thing is, I'm finding the pressure. I don't know how you're managing homeschooling. Homeschooling is like the biggest punishment COVID has brought into my life.
That is so true.
Like managing homework and all of that. But I've learned to forgive myself. And if some of the work is not perfect, I'm so sorry. I love teachers. My parents are teachers, and my mom is a retired teacher. If something is not perfect, I forgive myself. The point is, my kids' temperatures are fine, their immune system is fine, and everybody is feeling protected. So I think I know that not all balls will be juggled with perfection, and be okay when you drop those balls. And then I think the last thing is, be honest with yourself and be honest with your family. If you cannot be honest with your family, learn to say you're tired. Learn to say you don't know. Learn to say, we'll go to the shops tomorrow. I never go to the shops today. Learn to be honest with your family.
And I think the last point you just made, I think for most parents is a very difficult point, telling your children that you're tired, because they feel so obliged to be with their children and to be for their children at all material times. So having said that, how can parents make time for themselves when there's work and their kids needing too much of their time and attention? Yeah.
So we've got, I think also just a work culture that's of openness. I think for people who are leading, who are parents and leading teams, empathy is very important. So when we talk as a team, for example, we do make space for parents who say, you know what, I won't make a 9 o'clock meeting because I've got to do this and this with my kids. And our schedules are having to now, like the home schedule and the work schedule has become blended. That's the most liberating part and the most frustrating part, because you don't know where home starts and where work starts. But I think for us as teams and as parents, we've got to be accommodating when people need time to do family things. And then I think that for me, with my kids, even the help support I have at home, I learn to actually say, if I need just an hour to go for a walk and be on my own on that walk, it's okay to say that. I think sometimes we are our own biggest critics and biggest enemies.
Nontokozo, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for your valuable insight. We appreciate it.